data and empathy. It's all about doing more with less in an era of heightened customer expectation. So I'd just like to welcome up to the stage Joey Moore, Senior Product Director of Optimizely, and Dom Graveson, Strategy Director for Netcel. So over to you guys.
Excellent. About there, ready to go. So my name's Joey Moore. I'm on the product team here at Optimizely, and I'm very fortunate I get to work with lots of our customers, the analyst community, lots of our partners globally to really help them understand their digital capabilities and to do more with this in the future.
And I'm Dom Graveson, Director of Strategy and Experience at Optimizely partner Netcel. We're one of 3 platinum partners in the UK, and we've been working with Optimizely for nearly a decade now.
So I'm going to kick off possibly by setting myself up for failure by following one of the greatest public speakers ever. So I've got a 1-minute video that's just looking at sort of a bit of level setting in terms of where this heightened sense of customer expectation comes from that we've all talked about already.
What I can do
is
I can take any of these pictures and I can make them bigger. And so let me go ahead and get the camera back up. Yeah, there it is right there. I can just take my fingers and we call it the pinch. I can bring them closer together or move them further apart to make it bigger or smaller. And so I can just move them further apart and stretch the image. And move it around.
So 2007, that's about 800 weeks ago. And we jumped forward 400 weeks, and there's this kid here who's actually using a magazine, grown up with iPads and digital devices and stuff. And she's like trying to get the pages to move and stuff. And so that was halfway between Steve Jobs and now, and that expectation. So this girl, this was 2014. So she's probably just starting to understand money, starting to get her first account. In 5 years, she's going to be entering the world of work. And this is insane, this speed, this velocity, this change that's been happening in the world. And us as brands and organizations have been trying to keep up with this, or at least stay ahead of it. And so we knew that this was happening, and how could this get any faster? What could happen? And then we had a global pandemic, when many organizations had to move from the physical to the digital world purely through necessity. So that was how we're engaging with clients, engaging with customers across a whole ecosystem. So we've seen various different stats around this. One Microsoft says that we saw 2 years of digital transformation those first 2 months of the pandemic. And some of the stats we see in financial services are incredible. So 14.7, what's that? That's what, like a quarter of the UK population are using a lot more their digital banking services. This blew my mind. 6 million people in that first month of the pandemic signed up for their bank's app for the first time. So there's 200,000 downloads a day in that first month of the pandemic, when they couldn't get to the bank, they couldn't get to their normal sort of physical locations. And then we all need to see this, but this 33% rise in contactless payments, where basically the government mandated they try not to use cash wherever possible. So we started using all of our digital things and Starling and all those kind of things. So we've got this sort of super heightened sense of expectation that suddenly became realized, and lots of brands and organizations were really struggling to catch up, which essentially meant that for a lot of organizations, this really brought right into view this real clear presence that digital has to be our business. The previous speaker just spoke about how that there's this increased spotlight on lots of organizations on the digital parts of their business was actually beneficial to a degree, because many of us who work in digital, we know the power, we know the capability of it, and to really bring that to life and to demonstrate that to the wider organization has actually been helpful in many use cases. So we've had this pandemic sense, but what a lot of businesses are really looking to understand now. So this graph is the McKinsey graph, and it's showing that this was the kind of state of digital adoption pre-pandemic. In the height of the pandemic, we had the amount of people that were kind of engaging with digital channels really heightened, and it's kind of falling back. It's going to fall back probably a little bit more as people get to go out again, get to engage with real people, sales and all those types of things, but it's never going to get back to this level here. So we've got to figure out what we're going to do about that. So Rusty Warner from Forrester was talking around this, these empowered customers feeling entitled, and I thought entitled can feel a bit derogatory, but I don't think it is. We all entitled. This morning when I went to I bought my train ticket online last night and then didn't have my physical bank card when I went to pick it up this morning. So I was like, what on earth? You know, I couldn't get my ticket from the machine. Because I just had, you know, I wouldn't dream of that 5 years ago. You think, well, I get there 5 minutes early, I'll go into the ticket machine and buy my ticket. But I couldn't do that. So my expectations had already been really heightened along this digital world. So focusing on how businesses can keep up with this. So in the early days, you know, we had the CMSs. It was really just about publishing stuff on the new internet and about, you know, getting our web page up and everyone had their own site. We then, about 10 years later, moved into this web experience management. This was this acceptance that there's going to be these multiple channels that we need to deliver these messages through. So it's around consistency. And if I'm publishing something on my website, the same information is going to be in branch or with our customer service representatives. So it's just around consistency. But again, we've heard today this important being able to orchestrate that messaging across multiple channels, being able to do it in real time, really understanding the data, being able to take advantage of that data to activate it and actually derive value from it. So really it's around this digital experience platform, the DXP market. Forrester and Gartner helpfully put together a really great image of the landscape on that. We've already heard a lot about Gartner today. You know, they're looking, if we look at the top three, so we've got the Adobes, the Acquia and us, looking at how, you know, for those who maybe don't have the deep pockets, the complexity, looking at Adobe, financial services, Acquia is obviously a question just around sort of the data security and the open source nature of the platform. So really, as we're looking at how we can harness DXP to start taking advantage and actually realize these capabilities of data and personalization is absolutely core to the market. So I want to put this around 3 key areas, so context, capability, and culture. Context, we really are talking around that data piece. We've heard lots around data today. It's, you know, something we all know that we need to do, and the challenges that many organizations face are things like these sprawling data silos. So most enterprises, they have 120 different SaaS solutions just within their marketing stack. So that's data streaming into your business that you can't necessarily take advantage of unless you go into these costly, long-term integration projects that can be difficult to do, and you feel like you're never actually going to start realizing the value of that data. When we're talking about value, we're talking about, can we actually get insight from that data? Can we actually understand what's actually, where the value is in that data? And I think Adam talked this morning, first thing as well, about saying, you know, making the wrong assumption can be costly as well. So making sure that the data you have is correct and reliable and can support your use cases. And then finally, on the context piece is really looking, we need to start talking more about the client and the customer journey rather than the kind of the journey points. So really having a holistic view of the customer journey and not just trying to sort of drill into a single point in it and then, you know, optimizing that bit, but at the loss of all the other points in that customer journey. So looking at that context piece is absolutely key. Dom.
Thanks, Joey. So let's unpack context a little bit. Context, what it really, what data and research and insights do is drive the ability for you to be able to understand what the customer and the market are doing, and in terms of the meaning of those things. So really, what we're trying to understand here is derive the meaning from all of this information that we have within our organisation. And that meaning enables us to drive our strategy, understand both in the short term and in the longer term what products we should take to market, how we should improve the products that we have, what markets we should be addressing, who our customers are, how they're changing and how their behaviour is changing, to enable us to not only drive desired outcomes for our customers, because within financial services, and I believe this quite passionately, that within financial services, what we're really trying to do is help our customers make the right financial decision for themselves. And we're providing them with the information, with the experiences to enable them to do that more and more digitally these days. And if they're making the right decisions, we're going to be getting the right outcomes for our organizations, for our businesses and our products. And that will help us inform our roadmap. But those insights are made up of 2 things. The data. We talked a lot about data today. Data made up of CRM data, and as Joey and others have said, there could be lots and lots of different silos of that, and it can be very, very challenging to bring that together. But you've also got the analytics in terms of what they're actually doing when they are visiting your site, and behavioural information as well, behavioural data in terms of what the trends for your customer behaviours are and what they're doing while when you're presenting them with an interaction. That's all fine, all really important. But one of the things that we haven't talked about much about today is in terms of the softer side of those things, the kind of the stuff that could be uncovered by research and experience, the influences that are more invisible to our users. And they might be things like quantitative and qualitative data. So the surveys that you've run in the past, we all do customer surveys. We all get a little, everything from a kind of in-depth questionnaire all the way through to those slightly irritating little texts you get after you've called in a call center that say, how do you mark Pete out of 1 and out of 5 in terms of how they helped you today? Also, the qualitative data, you will have probably a lot of qualitative data from market research activities, from interviews with customers and all that kind of thing. But also, and something I notice is forgotten again and again, is the anecdotal data. You have a huge amount of, if you have people that deal with customers frontline, face-to-face, whether that's in branch or on the phone, there's a huge amount of insights that you have within your organization that you could really unlock in that way. And the important thing here is that that's what we know, but it enables us to drive combine to create the insights and to drive our strategy. So it's really important to combine data with the empathic stuff as well. So let's bring this to life a little bit. Let's meet Fran and Mark, who are a young couple looking for their dream home. And of course, they're very realistically achievable in 2021 dream home. Just outside Woodbridge in Suffolk, lovely place. And they're influenced by a whole load of things. They're going to be influenced by a load of, in terms of their ability to be able to get from where they are to where they want to be, they're going to be influenced by how much money they're earning, how much savings they've got, how much mum and dad are prepared to help them out. But also, and they're the kind of hard, the kind of hard influences that they have, but they have also a huge amount of soft influences as well. So if we're trying to help them on their journey, either to help them build up their savings or to help them to get themselves a mortgage and get themselves into that lovely house, we need to understand those soft influences as well. So those soft influences include things like how they perceive our brand, whether they think our bank or building society is one that they relate to, if it's the one that their parents used, how we represent people who they think are like them within the marketing and advertising that we use. So all of those things, what their friends and families say, all of those things are going to be influencing them, and all of those things that we can unpack by having the empathy alongside the data. So they're on a journey, and their journey from what a lovely house on Rightmove to actually moving in is there's going to be many steps on that journey. And we're going to need to explore and understand as many of those steps as we can and deliver experiences that meet their needs. So one of those experiences, a digital experience, might be, for example, a mortgage calculator. That might be one of the first steps they take on their journey. However, all our customers are different. So you've also got different types of couples looking for different types of properties. And what we need to do there is to be able to adapt and create, using our data and our insights, adapt and create and adjust these different transactional moments that we have with our customers to be able to tailor it, to be able to actually show a level of empathy that we have for them, so that the imagery we use on the site is reflective of the kind of customers using the information that we know about them. So we might be able to create a set of a number of different instances or variants, using a kind of slightly topical word at the moment, a variance of that one transaction delivered through Optimizely, through their experimentation platform, that will enable us to, using the data, create several, four or so different variants that reflect the different needs of those different customers in terms of what we understand about them, and then those to be able to, as we discover the more successful variants, the ones that deliver us the greatest transactional results and click through or whatever, it enables us to be able to find the most effective variant and do that all entirely in real time. So this is kind of introducing this idea of experimentation, which is kind of a very effective process that can be built into your digital operations, but is driven by combining data and empathy. And it's being done. Clients like Visa are using Optimizely to drive experimentation at scale, and that's one example of the kind of thing that some of their data and decision scientists are saying. Joey, you've got some examples of some others as well, so I'm going to pass you back to Joey, and then I'll
when
come
we
back to you later.
talk around sort of the realization, the taking advantage of that data, we really do focus around outcomes. So whether that's an organization looking to increase the number of leads, looking to ensure satisfaction in terms of how people engage, or bonkers stats like this one where they were running a charity campaign, they had this massive influx of traffic, and making sure that they're on the right architecture that they could actually stand up, so not to create those sort of disappointing customer experiences as well. So I'd also want to talk around capability, and that's really around ensuring that you have the right tools, processes, and capability in-house to be able to take advantage of these things. So one of the things we focus on is really around how to activate that data. So we have a view within the platform that we can actually look at a visitor and actually how they're engaging with your website, and actually picking out what those topics of interest are actually as they're browsing the site. So like the meltwater example earlier, where looking at that social data, but this is actually generated on your own site as people are actually engaging with the content. All the topics are automatically generated from the content you're publishing, so you can get this really rich view of every individual visitor, so that you can really start to understand how you can optimize that journey based on their likes, interests, and dislikes. So that's all the way through that original acquisition point, how you're engaging them, what are the messages you're sending out, can they be personalized on a one-to-one level, because you have that data and that depth of understanding, not with months of integration work, not with months of research analysis, just with the capability that's already built in that you can start to take advantage of within the platform.
So, thank you. So let's return to our impossibly attractive couple and their impossibly beautiful home, and the different steps that they're going through. As Joey said, one of the challenges is how do you build the capability for this in your organization? We talked a lot about this in theory, but I mean, I've quite a lot of experience over the last 10 years of working with various financial services companies, small and big, within the UK and in Europe. And their challenges are kind of different, but always kind of within the same kind of area of being able to kind of scale this up and actually establish it within organizations that have been, in the past, had quite a tough time through 2008 in terms of the regulatory environment. Lots of change through PSD2 and open banking and all of that stuff happening. Lots of technology change. People have already talked about the huge amount of technology debt. So it's difficult. They're brittle. They can be quite brittle organisations to be able to, embed this kind of innovation and agility within, and that's quite a challenge. But what the combining this hard data and this empathic research and experience enables us to do is actually start to build out a kind of process and embed it within the way that we work, and start small in one place and prove the value and then grow it up and out from there. And combining customer data and research and experience gives us the opportunity to come up with hypotheses. You won't always be right. And in fact, if you are always right, you aren't taking enough risks. You need to be failing 30% of the time, generally, but in a safe way. And what this should enable you to do is being able to turn this into a process and embed this within your organization is to be able to risk manage innovation. Because in my view, actually innovation, which sounds quite scary to a lot of people within financial services, is actually all about managing risk. It's about taking short periods of time, taking small steps that are always driven by data and insights, and being able never more than 2 weeks or a month or a sprint away from being able to pivot and change direction. So we can start to build using Optimizely or other platforms. You can start to build this approach to experimentation. If we have a hypothesis, we think that different types of users want different types of wording or different types of imagery, or shorter and splitting up the ways that we ask them to register their details and information. There might be, we've got a problem that we want to solve. We've got a series of solutions that are driven by our hypothesis, which come from our insights, and we've got some results that we might expect to see. And they're a simple, iterative-based, you'll have seen dozens of these, cyclical approaches to insight drives an idea, drives a development, drives a test, and improvement. And then you can embed those within in a broader process of delivering digital products. This is our one at Netcel. You'll have seen many like it. There are many like it, but this is ours. And what we're doing is we're able to use data and both qualitative and quantitative data, so data, the hard numbers, and the empathy at all stages. So to understand behavior and market opportunity, building hypotheses for products and services for testing, using these kind of activities. You've seen these before. Market looking outwardly, looking inwardly to our colleagues, and also very interesting is around ethnographic research, is understanding how people behave. So if you haven't done this, ask your customers to go out and like film a day of them using your products, or actually understanding how customers use what's the journey outside of the interactions with your channels that they take when they're, for example, choosing a mortgage and choosing a home. Through the actual development of the product itself, so you're validating the ideas that you've created. You're then creating the outline user experience, and then creating the actual and implementing the digital product or digital experience itself. We believe very strongly that actually prototyping can start on bits of paper and end with a final product, and that's actually a smooth journey. And you don't, you want to break down as much as possible the kind of siloing and the handover between different stages, and the kind of activities that you're going to be looking at this point within this kind of development of the product. Bringing in customers as much as possible, prototyping and managing your risk. And then finally, and this is something that's really important, so many clients I've worked with in the last 25 years in this industry have a budget to build and deliver a product, and then no budget to improve it. We can tell you, we can go out and do a load of research, and we can find out about your customers before we build your product. But once it's actually in the water, that's when the learning really begins. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the research up front, but it does mean that you should learn and learn once you've delivered it and build improvement into it. And when you're developing the governance and the business case for your products, think about total cost of ownership. And this is what I'm saying about including improvement in your governance process and thinking about scalable growth and all that kind of stuff. So back to Joey now, who's going to talk to us a bit about culture.
So Matt, you really to expand on that idea of having that ongoing optimization, having that ongoing improvement idea within the business as you actually create anything. And this isn't to sort of play down the importance of strategy in any organization. It's really just to give credit for culture. Where we've done large tech introductions into businesses, into organizations, it's rarely the technology that lets us down. It's usually the adoption within the teams, it's the embracement. So really how you can actually focus on the adoption side within the teams and the ongoing optimization in terms of what they can actually do to improve and what they can actually do to embrace that technology to actually derive the full value and full benefit from it.
Thank you. It starts to feel like this is a bit of a kind of, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but how many people have BAU as a kind of, as an approach to doing work within your organization? I've always had a real problem with that, because not only does business as usual sound, obviously that's what it's the core of what we do, but it kind of makes, not only does it sound kind of slightly dour, but also I think that given the last 2 years of pandemics, the fact that the financial services industry is already going through, has been in the last 10, 15, 20 years, been going through a huge amount of change. Actually, kind of change is the normal situation. So, particularly within the financial services industry, so actually we need to move away from this idea of BAU, business as usual, to one of learning as usual, or LAU, which I'm kind of, I learned about this kind of a couple of years ago, and I really like the idea that actually, rather than just doing business, we're actually learning and developing and growing as organizations with our customers, understanding the directions of our markets and the directions of the new needs and desires of our customers and what opportunities that gives us. So, in order to be able to deliver a kind of, or create and establish a learning as usual culture, there are some things that you need to put in place. And I'm going to talk a little bit about just some work I've done and some experiences that I bring from the last kind of 10 years of working in this sector. So across Europe and in the UK. So, but broadly, what we want to see is senior support. So this is one of the things, I keep coming back to this, senior support and governance. Lots and lots of people within financial services, product owners who really get it, are wanting to build in this innovative approach to things, but it's really difficult because they don't have the support of their senior teams, and they don't have the ability to communicate to those senior management the benefit of doing this, and to make those and enable senior management to feel confident in allowing this new way of working. They need to be able to have access to the data so that they can build up an understanding of empathy for customers in terms of not just how customers interact with their products and their channels, but also their overall journey. Financial things are something that we think about all the time. They're on our minds. They worry all of us. It's important stuff, this. But also empathy for colleagues. Again, when I've worked within digital innovation within financial services organizations, very often the problems are, or the things that slow them down, are issues between departments. Departments are motivated and incentivized in different ways, and that siloing, not only in terms of their systems, but in terms of the way that they're actually incentivized and managed within the organization. So it's as much of a political movement within the organization that needs to be established. New skills for prototyping and experimentation. That's where agencies like us come in. But there are, and you can design thinking, digital innovation and digital product development skills and prototyping approaches are available to find from lots of places. But it's about matching those to the right, to your organization, to use the right ones at the right time, and having a safe space to get it right. It's nice to have a floor, some space to be able to kind of build these experiences and get customers together with digital teams. But also, it's really important to actually have a kind of a safe space within the organization. So let's first of all just pick up very quickly on, I'm just going to quickly skip through kind of 3 things that really kind of struck me as being the routes to success. One of them is around how you map these digital product approaches to your organization. This is one tiny bit of a whiteboard that we were drawing up that basically shows the process of the internal delivery of product process or product development process for a large bank in Eastern Europe. The real challenge, we came along trying to deliver, trying to bring in these digital product approaches and enable experimentation. And what we found was that rather than coming in with a kind of, this is our double diamond approach, you need to work to that, is actually what we did was we mapped the tools and methodologies that you needed, or that they needed, onto their approach. So it was an empathic approach from the point of view of making sure that the right tools were matching the process at the right time, rather than just taking something and taking a kind of a textbook approach to it. And this enabled the organization to be able to deliver products far faster. It went from being 18 months to market to being 3 to 6 months to market, and obviously that then delivered a huge amount of benefit to the organization, and demonstrated the value of this approach and of this experimentation approach and data-driven customer experiences. Another one is around creating toolkits. So if you want to drive this kind of approach, it's not data-driven customer experiences, that you need to train up your teams and empower your teams to be able to build that capability and to be able to carry this stuff out. It is really important, again, really important to not try and do this across the whole organization at the same time. Pick one particular leading light, torchlight team and work on one product, and then prove the value, and then enable them to kind of share that and build up and out from that. So toolkits are really important. Best practice sharing is really important as well. I couldn't actually find the photographs from a financial services client, so this is from a utilities client that I worked with some years ago. But basically, we put in one team to within their digital transformation program, and working with them, we then shared that information with all the other teams and with all the other suppliers. So we wanted to share best practice and share the tools and methodologies and approaches in using data, both qualitative data from and CRM data with the empathic customer research-based data as well, and using customer insights at every stage along the way. And what this means is that you're able to build fantastic products in partnership with customers that use data and data and research and empathy to create fantastic digital products. This is an example of a bank in South Africa where I was part of a team where we, rather than going in as creating, the brief was basically to create a set of financial products for the rising middle classes in South Africa. That isn't something that big incumbent banks can do. So instead what we did is we created a place where fintechs, local companies could work, supported by the large bank that we were working with, to create a kind of ecosystem for fintech partnerships with them and support the local communities in being able to develop design thinking skills, research skills, data analytics skills to be able to create their own products and services. So that was super exciting, and it doesn't always have to be led by you. If you come from if you are part of a large financial services organization, it's always really interesting to kind of start to develop and build that ecosystem, and who can you support to help you in doing that. So context, capability and culture. So we've kind of looked at the kind of types of data in your organization and the importance of combining hard and soft data together and building empathy into your decision making. Capability is around making that data available to all the to enable evidence-based decision making around either customer experiences or digital products more broadly, and the culture, which is understanding what this change means for you, how your organization is going to plot your way through from where you are to where you want to be, and to understand the blockers and the people that you need to bring with you within the organization and externally on the road.
So I know we're just at time, so if, as many of you are kind of looking at your digital strategy for next year, we have available the Gartner and the Forrester Magic Quadrant and the Forrester Wave for the DXP platforms. So you can get my email address from the next slide, and you can email me or Dom, and we can send those over to you. So thank you very much for your time today, and looking forward to any questions afterwards.
Yeah, and we're just at the back if you want to come and have a word.
Great. Thank you very much. So, we're on to our last session. We'll get rid of that just for now. So we're on to our last session, and this was our panel session. So as you'll